To you next, Monique. One of the issues that has come out after this fire, besides the fact that, as Lindsay's guest was saying, that universities and libraries have to rethink how they protect their material, is about how do you manage fynbos? Because the management of fynbos is an issue at hand once again that's been highlighted. Because some people believe, especially environmentalists, that if Table Mountain can manage its fynbos well, then it means you manage future fires well, or the risk of future fires becomes better mitigated.
Yes, Bradan, and that's definitely something I'm going to be speaking to our guest about. That's Gavin Bell, Sandparks' area manager. But while I get Mr. Bell, I want to show you what's happening right now. Right before you were about to come to us, we are standing at the site of the Rhodes Memorial Tea Room. My colleague Mario is just showing you the remnants of it. Quite a devastating sight to behold. This is all that's left of the tea room. I'm sure our viewers will remember some of those videos that were doing the rounds of that massive explosion that took place on Sunday as the fire engulfed the restaurant and hit those gas tanks here at the restaurant. Luckily, no one was injured, and all that you see left over is the charred remains of the tea room, as well as some stumps of trees. And we have been informed by Sandparks that some of the trees, some of the branches are still falling. We have a team from the disaster risk management that has just arrived, and various stakeholders from the city of Cape Town, from the disaster risk management centre, joining Sandparks in assessing the area. It's not yet safe for the public. It's not yet safe for anyone really to come here. Even as my colleague and I, Mario, as we were driving up towards Rhodes Memorial, we encountered a tree branch, a massive tree branch falling. And that was just a stark reminder of how precarious the situation still is and why it is still closed to the public. You can see that sign there, the Rhodes Memorial Tea Room sign. Quite a sad state that this is all that's left of this restaurant. That's just us walking over some of the remains of the restaurant. This would have been the inside. And I'm going to try and see if we can catch up to Mr. Gavin Bell from Sandparks. As we make our way to him, I'm going to ask my colleague Mario just to be safe as we're moving over the debris. We'll make our way to Gavin Bell, but also I want Mario to just show you what's happening, or what it looks like around us on the slopes of Table Mountain, close to Rhodes Memorial, burnt vegetation. I can see Mr. Bell in the distance, who let's quickly catch up to him. That's Ray Tukuli, also from Sandparks, that you see there. Mr. Bell, thank you so much for joining us. Let me start by asking the question of where are we at now. We heard earlier from SPCA that they've been working along with some Sandparks rangers to try and find animals in distress, try and see if there are animal carcasses that need to be removed. What is Sandparks? What has Sandparks been doing?
We are assisting. We are assisting with the SPCA and any members of the public or groups that find any hurt animals. Then definitely we'll get those animals to the SPCA. They've already been actually in here removing goldfish. They were taken to another pond in case of problems. We'll continue monitoring the area. We've got the rangers out looking for any animals, but fortunately most of the animals would have moved away in front of the fire. So obviously your birds can fly out and your insects can fly out, and then your other smaller creatures will climb into streams under rocks. A lot of animals have survived these fires, most of them, all of them actually, in fact, for thousands of years. They haven't got extinct. So a lot of them get out in front of the fire, and then they move out of the area, and then they repopulate the area when the new growth comes. So we're going to remember that as much as there's destruction here, which is very sad, in UCT and the surrounding areas, the mountain will revive itself. There will become new growth and new flush, and then those creatures will move back in. Tortoises, for example, they survive by laying their eggs out of the fire season, and those eggs hatch after the fire season. So we'll have a whole lot of young tortoises coming out, and they'll repopulate the area. Yeah.
And I have to ask, because it's something that we've had various groups contacting us about, placing some blame on Sandparks, saying that this fire could have been mitigated in some way if there was better vegetation management. What do you have to say to that, and also better management of some homeless people who often make fires on the mountain?
Well, in terms of the vegetation management, the park was established in 1998. And since then, we've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of rand removing invasive alien plants. Those really are the fuel load that fuels the fire. Your invasive plants like Port Jackson and blue gum and wattle, etc. And we've created tens of thousands of jobs over the years for contracting groups out of our previously disadvantaged communities to remove those. So in this area, we have been doing a number of operations in cleaning out those species. But obviously these big pines that remain here are heritage trees. So those trees are part of the heritage landscape, this UCT landscape and this Rhodes Memorial landscape. And those aren't removed because they are protected. They have protected status in terms of heritage legislation. And those are the ones that caught alight. Pines do burn in fires. They're full of volatile oils, and they do light up under those extreme conditions. That obviously was a part of what was creating this high, intense fire. But the vegetation management, we continue doing that through government and poverty relief funded programs to remove the alien invasives. And we will continue to do that. It's part of our mandate. And we prioritize annually which areas are focused areas. And this is an area that's received a lot of clearing over the years.
And on the homeless people maybe staying on the fire, making those fires?
Well, it's a very sensitive issue because we're bordering onto a city. You know, and there's a lot of socio-economic challenges that we have in our country, not just in Cape Town and this specific area. So, you know, there's poverty and joblessness, and there's homeless people that move in and out the city and onto the mountain on a daily basis. So our rangers continue, they monitor areas, they remove people, and they go back into the city, and then the people come back that afternoon, that evening, or the next morning. You know, and then they move out again. So, you know, and particularly with COVID, we found a lot of additional homeless people coming in, and we work with the city. The city works with us, with their law enforcement agencies and their Metro Police to move people out. But it's very difficult because where do they go at night? You know, that some of them go to shelters, some of them don't want to go to shelters, and then they move back into different areas. Not necessarily sleeping in the park, but they sleep, for example, in tunnels that go under roads, under bridges, and that's right on the edge. For example, where this fire emanated from, it's on the edge of the mountain in the city, and if they make a fire to keep warm, etc., and that's unfortunately what happens in terms of how fires can start.
And just quickly before I let you go, the way forward now, we're seeing a team from disaster risk management assessing the area. What's the next step for the coming weeks?
So obviously we must keep watching this for flare-ups. So the teams aren't going to go away. They keep monitoring for flare-ups. Then the next concern is the winter rains that are coming. So with this exposed landscape and the exposed soil, you could have rain coming down and you could have mudslides or water flooding in. So we're working very closely with the city. They're doing their assessment today to prioritize the areas that need attention before the rains come. There's fortunately, I mean, there's still vegetation. You can see the trees there binding the soil, but in some areas it might not be the case. The soil is very sensitive after all that heat. And so with the city, the identified areas are going to receive attention in terms of sandbagging, digging trenches, clearing out all the sour drains so that when the waters do come, that can flow into the stormwater system of the city without causing any problems. That's a big job. There might be certain areas that need a silt fencing. We've had fires before where the city has stabilised certain slopes with different types of fencing materials. So that's a project. I think there's possibility of rains, which in this case we're not hoping for. We usually do hope for rain. It's because our dams get empty over summer. We've had a long dry summer. But if we do go to homes, we pray that they're soft, gentle rains and not a lot of rain with a heavy downpour in a short period of time. But these teams are working around the clock to mitigate any impacts of flooding and mudslides.
Thank you very much. That was Gavin Bell from SANParks. He's the area manager. And one thing that SANParks is also doing, they're also obviously looking into, along with the City of Cape Town, looking into the cause of the fire. And the report should be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that report there from SANParks, very interesting indeed. Thank you very much, Monique Motlok.